Happy Friday, everyone. Thanks for tuning in. I'm Lee Ji-eun in Seoul. We have a lot coming up on today's Business Daily. But first, let's check out some of the day's highlights. Korea and China signed a mega trade deal earlier this week. Both countries expected to boost trade and investment. But what does it really mean for Korea? 'Tis the season of watermelons, but they're not just your average watermelons. Today, we have them in all colors and sizes. But first, let's go over some of the day's top business stories. It's an all clear. The U.S. Transportation Security Administration has concluded that Incheon International Airport meets global standards on all accounts, following a thorough on-site review. The Travel Security Agency had dispatched 5 aviation security experts to the airport in April to assess 203 subsections in 9 areas, including airport operation, aircraft security, and standards management. Seoul's Land Ministry said that they were particularly impressed with the airport's state-of-the-art access control system and security facilities that can expose dangerous substances in advance. The U.S. conducts inspections of airports that operates worldwide every 2 to 3 years after a hijacking incident in 1985 led to weeks of negotiations. Exciting news for all you Apple fans out there here in Korea. You will be able to get your hands on that Apple smartwatch later this month. Apple says consumers in Korea can purchase the device from the 26th at online stores, authorized dealers, or at high-end fashion retail stores. Korea's popular instant messaging application Kakao Talk and its cab-hailing app Kakao Taxi have also been registered on the smartwatch app store in preparation for the launch. Apple said it will expand its sales in 6 other countries around the world in Europe and Asia. The smartwatch was first launched in April in 9 countries. One of the timeless fruits that people here in Korea enjoy in the summer is watermelon. Green on the outside and a juicy red on the inside, usually. But today, our Eunice Kim tells us about those watermelons that are being snatched up these days, come in a variety of colors.
The entrance of the supermarket is packed with summer's favorite fruit. You have those in the recognizable greenish hue, and then you have your specialized options: a black-skinned watermelon with no seeds inside, a golden watermelon with the red flesh, conversely, a green watermelon with golden flesh, and another that's golden all around. The latter two are dubbed mango watermelons, developed by mixing the yellow watermelon with the taste of the red flesh. And despite their higher price point, they're selling like hotcakes.
We tried it out and it was really sweet, so we buy them a lot.
According to figures from eMart, sales of such specialized watermelons jumped by 88% compared to last year, a significant growth when considering that overall watermelon sales had actually shrunk by 13%.
Compared to regular ones, these are sweeter with better texture, so that's why they sell better, combined with their unique looks.
As customers look for more unconventionality in their food choices, more creativity is expected in the world of fruit. Eunice Kim, Business Daily.
After 3 years of negotiations, Korea and China finally signed a free trade agreement on Monday. Now, with the inking of this deal, Korea has now become the only major economy to have signed FTAs with the world's 3 largest economies, China, the U.S., and the EU. Now, what kind of economic benefits can we expect from this mega deal with Beijing? And exactly how big of a deal is it? Let's find out.
Asia's largest and 4th largest economies, China and Korea, have formally signed a free trade agreement that will over the years remove most tariffs between the two countries. With the trade volume between Seoul and Beijing currently standing at over $200 billion, many say this massive deal will take the relationship between the two to a whole new level.
The Korea-China Free Trade Pact will boost economic and political cooperation between the two countries while also raising their global status in terms of economic growth.
The Korea-China FTA is the biggest FTA that China has ever signed with another country in terms of the trade volume and the size of the market it will open.
With China being Korea's largest trading partner, latest studies show that the deal is expected to boost Korea's real GDP by 0.96% and create well over 50,000 jobs over the next decade. Opening up the service market, breaking down trade barriers, and promoting trade and investment. As good as all this may sound, some sectors will be hit hard once the deal goes into effect. What lies ahead for the two countries? We'll get a closer look.
And now we have Professor Oh Jung-geun of Konkuk University joining us in the studio to tell us more about this mega deal between Korea and China. So good to have you join us this morning.
Thank you very much for inviting me here.
All right, so it took a little over 3 years for Korea and China to sign this mega trade deal, but why did it take so much longer for them to sign it compared to other ones that we signed with the EU and the United States?
That's right. It took almost about 3 years, mainly because between China and Korea, we have a lot of sensitive product between two countries. Therefore, whether to include how to deal with such a sensitive product between two countries. That's why it took almost about 3 years, more than EU, Korea, EU, Korea, US free trade agreement.
All right, you talked about some sensitive products. I mean, what do you mean by those?
Nowadays, China is chasing Korean technology in the field of manufacturing sector. Also, in case of Korea, we are now protecting our agricultural, fishery, and livestock field. Therefore, Korea tried how to protect the agricultural, fishery, and livestock product. On the other hand, China want to export more. China want to protect from the in the field of high-skilled technology because still they are developing. But China want to open our agricultural and fishery and livestock product and also the low-skilled manufactured goods because they have an advantage in terms of a wage rate. China wage is almost about 1/6 or 1/7 Korean wage. That's why they want to open more Korean market on the low skilled. That means the labor intensive product. But in case of Korea, we want to open Chinese market on the more high skilled manufactured goods. But they want to product. So between China and Korea, we have a very difficult field, gray zone, which we cannot have. We are very difficult to have a compromise.
All right. Well, we talked a little bit about the sensitive products in the fields, but what does this deal actually mean? I mean, China is an enormous market. It's Asia's largest economy, and it's surely going to open up a really large market for Korean businesses. What other benefits or effects can we see from this pact?
Yeah, as you see, as you said, China is the largest market in terms of population, 1.4 billion population, and also in terms of GDP, also the world's second largest market, following U.S. market. Therefore, China is now growing economy. So a lot of demand, considering demand that China is a very big market. So I think Korea now, with the help of Korea-China free trade agreement, we may export to China much more our manufactured goods to China. Still, in the case of last year, Korea exported to China almost 190 billion US dollars to China. China is the largest market of Korean export, but I think in the future, with the help of a free trade agreement, we can export much more to Chinese market. In particular, Chinese people are recently like to use Korean manufactured goods, including cosmetics and some home appliance, etc.
Okay. Are there any other major industries aside from the ones that you just said that will see most benefits from this pact?
Well, I think in the future we are trying to export much more in the field of a more highly technical intensive product. For instance, steel or vessel or ship and also vehicle, also the high technical incentive chemical product, etc. also the semiconductor, mobile phone. They are both products are major items of Korean export in the world. But that is, I think, China will be a very good market for those products.
Well, you mentioned a little bit about Korea's agricultural sector before, but agriculture is always, this sector is always at the top of the list when it comes to the sector that might see the most amount of losses when we have free trade agreements come into effect. Then what are some other areas that you see some trouble coming in the way?
I think that traditionally we have always some trouble in the agriculture sector, but in this Korea-China free trade agreement, about 600 items have not included in the free trade agreement. In particular, 600 products of agriculture sector, because of the we strongly argued to protect our agriculture sector. Therefore, I think the impact on the agriculture sector is not much severe, but the most, I think, the most severely impacted part sector is, I think, low skilled and high labor intensive manufactured goods being produced by small and medium scale industry will be affected by quite severely. That's a problem, I think so.
All right. Well, the two countries have officially signed it now, but it's still waiting to the parliament to ratify it. What other stumbling blocks do you see on the way?
I think during the process of ratification of by parliament, I think the impact on small and medium scale industry will be discussed, because actually, as I mentioned, the Chinese wage rate is 1/6 Korean won. Therefore, labor-intensive product, in particular, product produced by small and medium scale industry is quite cheaper than Korean ones. That's why we are worried about the Chinese such a labor-intensive product will dominate the Korean market, and then that means some Korean small and medium scale industry may be collapsed. That's why I think that impact could be discussed on the process of ratification rather than agriculture sector.
Okay. All right. We'll have to see what kind of effects this FTA is going to bring to Korean businesses and all. But thank you so much for coming in today.
Welcome.
And that wraps it up for today. We hope that we were able to walk you through the week with business news that matters to you. Thanks for watching and have a great weekend, everyone. We'll see you right back here on Arirang next week.